Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is the story of the statue named the Mourning Soldier, one of the famous symbols of the Vietnam War. At the height of the Vietnam War in 1965, the original military cemetery located in Go Vấp, a district on the outskirts of Saigon, had become extremely crowded. So in 1966, the then President of the Republic of Vietnam, Nguyễn Văn Thiệu, ordered the construction of the new military cemetery in Biên Hòa, which is a small city located about 20 miles east of Saigon. Saigon was the capital of the Republic of Vietnam from 1955 to 1975. The chosen location is along the left-hand side of Biên Hòa Highway, now called Hanoi Highway, in the driving directions from Saigon to Biên Hòa. During the Vietnam War, there used to be a statue named the Mourning Soldier placed near the pagoda dedicated to the fallen soldiers. It weighed 10 tons and was 13 feet in height. This is the story behind the inspirations of the statue. Artist, sculptor, Captain Nguyễn Thanh Thu were designated by President Nguyễn Văn Thiệu to oversee the project. He was sent by the president to study the layout of the American military cemetery in Manila. After his trip to Manila, he had to present ideas to the president. He suggested that a statue should be placed at the entrance as a way of paying tribute to the fallen soldiers. He asked the president to give him 1 week to come up with ideas. One Friday afternoon, on his way back from visiting the original cemetery in Go Vấp, he stopped by a cafe to have a cup of coffee. He noticed an Air Force soldier sitting at a table by himself with 2 glasses of beer, looking solemn and full of melancholy while talking to an invisible being. His curiosity got the best of him, so he went over and introduced himself to the Air Force soldier. The soldier name was Võ Văn Hải, rank of corporal in the Airborne Division. He was at the cemetery visiting his friend grave, a soldier who was killed in a battle. A new idea had emerged in his mind after this meeting. A week later, he presented the president with 7 sketches. The president asked him, "Which one do you like best?" He replied, "Mr. President, if you would, please allow me to present to you a rough sketch I have just come up with a few hours ago. This is the one I like best." He then showed the president a quick sketch on the back of a cigarette packaging foil, the image of a soldier in a seated position with his M1 rifle on his lap that would come to be nicknamed the Mourning Soldier. He didn't want to show the president earlier for fear of being unprofessional and disrespectful. After the president approved the sketch, he had 3 months to complete the project before November the 1st, 1967, which was the Independence Day of the Republic of Vietnam. The Air Force corporal he had met in the cafe earlier was the inspirations behind the chosen sketch, as well as the sitting model for the project. The corporal was eventually killed in a battle and was laid to rest in this cemetery. The cemetery is believed to be haunted, and the statue of the mourning soldier is believed to be very sacred. There have been reports of ghostly encounter over the years. One such story is about a man happened to pass by the statue on his way home. He walked up to the statue and jokingly said, "Hey there, I'm having a party at my house tonight. You're welcome to come." That night, as the man was about to get ready for bed, he heard a loud knock at the front door. He opened the door and saw a man looking exactly like the statue of the mourning soldier standing before him. Another story is about the woman who worked as a gardener in the cemetery. One day, as she was sweeping around the pagoda, she heard the voice of a man asking her, "Do you know who I am?" Without looking up, she replied, "I have no idea who you are, and neither do I care to know." "Turn and look behind you," said the man. She turned around and saw a soldier looking just like the statue. She threw the broom and ran out of the cemetery as fast as she could. Needless to say, she never came back to her job. The third story is about the soldier who bought all the bread from a baker. The next day, when the baker counted his cash, he realized they were all just papers. He then went to the cemetery and saw that a loaf of bread was placed on each grave. There were witnesses who claimed they have seen the mourning soldier coming to life to warn people of Viet Cong attacks. The cemetery was established in 1966 with a capacity of 30,000 graves. The earliest graves date back to 1968. By the time of the fall of Saigon in April 1975, approximately 16,000 burials had taken place here, with half the graves covered by cement and half simple dirt mound. Following the fall of Saigon, access to the cemetery was restricted. A sign was erected outside the cemetery which read, "Here lie the American puppet soldier who had paid the price for their crime." It was not until 2006 when families of the fallen soldiers were allowed to tend to the graves. In 2015, the then United States Ambassador to Vietnam, Ted Osius, visited the cemetery. As for the author of the statue, Nguyễn Thanh Thu, he was sent to the re-education camp for 8 years, where he was beaten and tortured. After his release, he immigrated to America but later returned to Vietnam to live out the rest of his life. He suffered severe PTSD and is hard of hearing as a result of his imprisonment. Even to this day, access to the cemetery is still restricted. In order to be allowed entry into the cemetery, I had to show security guard my identifications and had to answer questions such as, what was the purpose of my visit? Who was I visiting? What I say and do at the cemetery can be a very sensitive matter. Even filming is being watched closely. This is the reason why I decided to do voiceover for this video. This is the entrance to the pagoda dedicated to the fallen soldiers before 1975. And this is what it looks like after 50 years of being abandoned. As you can see on the left column as well as on top in the center, all the letters have all fallen off and are barely visible, but you can still read, and it should say, "Dying for the country." On the right column, all the letters have also all fallen off, but it should read, "Fighting for the people." And this is the staircase to the pagoda before 1975. This is what it looks like today. You can see it is covered in dirt, dead leaves, and weed. The cement is cracking and some parts of it is chipping away. You can see the weed is growing from the staircase, a sign that it has been neglected since the war ended. And here on the floor, you can see that huge chunks of the tiles have been chipping away, revealing the cement underneath. Inside the pagoda where the table is, there used to be a memorial wall dedicated to the fallen soldiers. As you can see in this image from before 1975, the original design of the pagoda did not come with the walls. They were added on after the war ended, and now as you can see, they are being covered with mold and black spots all over. After 50 years of being neglected, the paint on the ceiling is peeling away, revealing the color underneath. The original red color is no longer there. On the window, some of the bars have fallen off. The cement on the wall is chipping away, revealing a hole. Here you can see a huge chunk of cement had chipped off, revealing the bricks underneath. As a history lover, it makes me so sad to see such a monument, a piece of history dedicated to the people who had given up their lives for their country in this condition after 50 years of being neglected. As you can see, most of them were in their late teens to early 20. Some of them were in their early 30. They were still in their prime when they passed. The Vietnam War was one of the most catastrophic and costliest war of the 20th century, with great losses for all sides, whether from Communist Vietnam, the Republic of Vietnam, or the United States. There are still a lot of people missing, lying in the deep wood or under unknown graves, while the other two groups were sought by the state organizations with enormous resources, materials, and technology. The Army of the Republic of Vietnam soldiers who died in battles were on the losing side, and the regime they once served is no longer existed. With the passage of time, they have become completely forgotten.